The cold autumn rain pounded the windows of the private clinic Nadezhda, as if counting down the last days of its existence. In the office of the chief physician Maxim Sergeyevich Volkov was surrounded by tense silence. The man sat behind a massive oak table, buried in financial reports, and his heart sank from hopelessness. The numbers didn't lie. The clinic he had been creating for the last 10 years was on the brink of bankruptcy. How did this happen? He asked himself for the umpteenth time, while hand on his temples. After all, it all started so well. He was 45 years old, but at that moment he felt like a very old man. After his divorce from his wife 3 years ago, the clinic became everything for him. Home, family, the meaning of life. Now it too was slipping away from underfoot, like sand through fingers. Maybe Irina was, am I right? He smiled bitterly, remembering his last conversation with his ex-wife. Maybe I really can only work, but not live. The phone on the table rang, interrupting his gloomy thoughts. Miksevich, came the alarmed voice of the administrator Anna Petrovna. We have a situation here. Can I come in? Volkov sighed heavily. Come in. Anna Petrovna. It won't get any worse than it is. The door opened slightly, and into the office a plump woman of about 50 looked in with a kind, but now clearly worried expression face. Maxim Sergeyevich, forgive me for interrupting, but there is a boy below. He is already the third day comes, sits in the hall. Security tried to kick him out, but he's so persistent. Says he needs to talk to you. Keep saying something about saving the clinic. Volkov frowned. The last thing he needed right now was some beggar or a madman. So what do you think I should do? I have a meeting with my creditors in an hour, and you're talking to me about some boy. He started, but Anna Petrovna interrupted. Maxim Sergeyevich, I wouldn't begin to worry you, but this child, there is something about him. The eyes are so adult, and he doesn't ask for money, he just wants to talk to you. Maybe you could step outside for a minute? Volkov looked at his watch. There were 50 minutes left before the meeting with the bankers. The meeting, which will most likely put an end to the history of his clinic. What do I have to lose? He thought and rose from the table. Okay, Anna Petrovna, bring in your mysterious guest. A few minutes later the door opened again and a boy of about 12-13. Volkov involuntarily winced. The child looked like a typical street kid. An old jacket, obviously from someone else's shoulder, worn-out sneakers, disheveled dark hair. But something in his gaze made Maxim wary. The boy's brown eyes looked straight ahead, without a shadow of embarrassment or fear, with childish wisdom. Well, what did you want to tell me? He asked the wolves wearily, sinking into the chair. The boy came closer to the table, but did not sit down. My name is Artyom, he said quietly but clearly. Artyom Nikolaev. And I know that your clinic is on the verge of closing. Volkov raised his eyebrows in surprise. Where from such awareness? And what does it matter to you? Artyom smiled slightly, and this smile strangely transformed his face, making him look older. I spend a lot of time here in the hall. People talking without noticing me. The nurses are discussing salary delays, doctors, layoffs. Patients complain about price increases. And yesterday I heard you spoke on the phone with the bank. Volkov frowned. Was he really that lost? Vigilance that you didn't notice a stranger? Let's say. So what next? You came express condolences? No. The boy shook his head. I came offer a solution. Volkov couldn't help but laugh bitterly. A solution. You're a boy. I have a debt of 150 million rubles. Half of the equipment is in pledge. The best doctors go to competitors. What solution can you offer? Artyom was not offended by the skeptical tone. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Have you ever heard of crowdfunding for medical institutions? About social projects supported by ordinary people. Volkov took the piece of paper and unfolded it. On it, in a childish but neat handwriting, was a plan of several points has been written. To transform the clinic into a people's hospital. Transparent reporting. Online broadcasts of operations for training students. What kind of nonsense is this? It's not nonsense, Artyom calmly objected. It works in America, in Europe. People are ready to support what they believe yours. You named the clinic Nadezhda. So give people Nadezhda, and they will give it to you. To you. Volkov put the sheet of paper aside and looked closely at the boy. Let's say that in this makes sense. But why are you doing this? What business is it of yours clinics? Artem lowered his eyes and for the first time during the conversation showed from his age as a vulnerable teenager. 2 years ago my mother died of cancer. We could not pay for treatment in a private clinic, but in a state one. There simply was no necessary equipment there. I swore to myself then that I would do everything so that other children would not lose their mothers. Because of money. He looked up at Volkov again. Your clinic could be the first in Russia, a truly people's hospital, where treatment is not based on the size of the wallet, but on need, where the rich pay for the poor, and the poor earn their money through volunteer work. Volkov was silent, digesting what he had heard. On the one hand, the idea seemed utopian. Another, what do you want in return? Finally, he asked. Artyom shrugged. Nothing. Just so you can try it. What do you have to lose? In an hour the bank will be gone anyway. We'll take the clinic. And at least then there will be a chance. There was a knock at the door. Come in, Volkov shouted. Anna Petrovna stuck her head into the office. Maxim Sergeevich, bank representatives have arrived. They are waiting in the conference room. Volkov nodded. Tell them that I will be in 5 minutes. When the door closed, he turned back to Artyom. I have 5 minutes. Tell me more. The boy seemed to be transformed. He spoke quickly but clearly, as if he had rehearsed this speech hundreds of times. First, full transparency. Publish all financial reports online, every penny. People should see where their money goes. Second, create a board of trustees from donors. They participate in decision-making. Third, social quotas. 30 of services free or at cost for the poor. Fourth, educational program. The best doctors conduct open lectures and masterclasses. This will attract young people and create reputation. And you think people will donate money just like that? Volkov asked skeptically. Not just like that, Artem objected, for involvement to a big deal. Look at Wikipedia. Millions of people support it, although they could use it for free, because they feel part of something important. Your clinic can become a medical Wikipedia, accessible, open, popular. Volkov glanced at his watch. There was no time left. And where to begin? With honesty, not thoughtfully, answered Artem. Go out to the bankers and tell the truth that the clinic in debts, but you have a plan. Ask for a 3-month grace period. If you don't raise at least 10 million through crowdfunding during this time, you'll give up the clinic. Without a fight. 10 million in 3 months. Are you kidding? Volkov shook his head. And you try, Artem said stubbornly. What do you have to lose? Pride. It's not worth living, that can be saved. These words seemed to hit Volkov in the gut. He remembered. Why did you even open a clinic 10 years ago? Not for the money, but for the people. Somewhere on the way he forgot about it, carried away by competition, profit, status. You know what, Artem Nikolaev? Volkov said slowly, rising from the table. You either genius or madman. But in any case, you are right about one thing. I have nothing to lose. He extended his hand. Boy. Come with me. You will be my talisman during the negotiations. Artyom blinked in surprise. But I'm not dressed appropriately. That's exactly why you'll go, Volkov chuckled. The bankers will see who we are working for. They left the office together. A successful businessman in an expensive suit and a ragged boy. Anna Petrovna watched them go with an astonished look. Volkov stopped in the corridor and squatted down to be on the same level as Artyom. Listen, why? My clinic? There are others in the city, richer ones. The boy smiled shyly, because I saw how you operated on a grandmother from a neighboring house for free. She told everyone what a good doctor you are. Good people shouldn't go broke. Volkov felt a lump in his throat. When was the last time someone said such words to him? They didn't flatter him. They didn't want to get something, but I just believed in him. Thank you, Artyom, he said quietly. It's been a long time since anyone reminded me why I became a doctor. The conference room greeted them with tense silence. At the long table sat 3 men in formal suits, representatives of the creditors' bank. Seeing Artyom, they looked at each other in bewilderment. Gentlemen, Volkov began, sitting down in head of the table and motioned for Artyom to sit next to him. Before we begin, I want to introduce you. This is Artem Nikolaev. He lost his mother because they couldn't pay for the treatment, and he proposed a rescue plan. Our clinic, the eldest of the bankers, A gray-haired man with cold gray, he frowned. Maxim Sergeevich, we came to discuss serious financial questions, and not to put on a charity show. It is the serious questions that we will discuss. Viktor Pavlovich, Volkov answered calmly. But first I want you to understand what we are talking about. Not about numbers and reports, but about people's lives. The next hour became one of the most important in Maxim Volkov's life. He spoke as never before, honestly, openly, without embellishment. She talked about the clinic's financial problems, about her mistakes in management, about how the pursuit of profit made him forget about the main thing. And then he laid out a plan Artem, supplementing it with his own ideas, which were born right in the course of the story. People's Clinic, snorted one of the bankers, younger. Sounds like a socialist utopia. Or what's wrong with socialism if it works? Artem suddenly spoke up. Scandinavia has one of the best social medicines in the world. We can take the best from different systems. The bankers looked at the boy in surprise. And who are you and such as to discuss healthcare systems? Viktor Pavlovich asked coldly. I am the one for whom are these systems created. Artem answered simply. An ordinary person who wants his loved ones could get help when they needed it. Not after a month by appointment, not for millions of rubles, and on time and at a fair price. He got up from his chair and I went to the window, through which the city was visible. There are thousands of people like me down there, like my mother was. They are ready to support the clinic that will work for them, and not for the profit of shareholders. Viktor Pavlovich leaned back in his chair. Let's say the plan is interesting, but what guarantees its success? Why should we wait 3 months instead of to take the collateral? Now Volkov took his phone out of his pocket, because it benefits you too. If the plan works, you'll get more than just a refund credit, but also the reputation of the bank that supported the social project. If not, in 3 months you will take everything, as planned. And what will be the guarantee? Your honesty? The second banker asked. I suddenly said Artem. I will come here every day and keep an online diary of the full transparency project. Anyone will be able to see what's going on, how much money has been raised, what it's spent on. And you think people will read the boy's diary? The young banker grinned. And you check, suggested Artem. Give me a week. If during this time there is no information on the project page, there will be at least 10,000 subscribers. Take the clinic even tomorrow. Bankers exchanged glances. Viktor Pavlovich drummed his fingers on the table, thinking. Finally he spoke. Well, I admit, the proposal is unusual, but there is a grain of truth in it. He turned to his colleagues. Gentlemen, what you say? The young banker shrugged. The reputational risks are minimal. If the project fails, we will simply sell the deposit. If it succeeds, we will receive good advertising. The second one nodded. Agreed. But strict conditions are needed. Control. So, Viktor Pavlovich folded his hands on the table. We are ready to give you a week to launch the project. If in 7 days you have 10,000 real subscribers and at least 1 million rubles in donations, we will extend the deferment for 3 months. But with conditions: full transparency of reporting, weekly reports and no new debts. Do you agree? Volkov looked at Artem. The boy nodded slightly. Agreed, he said firmly. Maxim, draw up an additional agreement. The next half hour was spent on discussion details. Artyom listened attentively, sometimes writing something down in his tattered notebook. When the bankers finally left, only Volkov and the boy. Do you understand what we just did? Asked Maxim, wiping under Solb. We got a chance, Artem answered simply. Now the main thing is not to miss him. Volkov looked at the teenager with the mixture admiration and anxiety. Artem, and your family? Father, they know where you are. Boy darkened. Father. He started singing after my mother died. I live with my aunt, but she works in 2 shifts. She has no time for me. Understandable. Volkov was silent. Look, what if I need help with this project? Officially, I can't register you, but I will pay a stipend. And lunches in our canteen are free. What you say? Artem's eyes widened. Are you serious? Absolutely. But on one condition: you will study at the same time. I will make arrangements with tutors. I agree. Instead of answering, Artem rushed to hug Volkov. Maxim stroked him in confusion. The boy on the head, feeling something thaw inside. As Irina left, she said he had a heart of stone. Maybe she was right. But stone, It turns out that it could crack from the touch of children's hands. So Volkov cleared his throat, trying to hide the emotions that had overwhelmed him. There is little time. We need to start today. Let's go to my office and make a plan of action. They walked down the corridor, and Maxim out of the corner of my eye noticed the nurses whispering to each other, looking at the strange couple. The news about the boy who came to save the clinic had already spread across all floors. In the office, Volkov sat Artem down at the side table and gave him the laptop. Start creating the project page. I'll call a journalist friend and ask him to help with a PR campaign. The next few hours fly by one moment. Artem turned out to be surprisingly smart. He quickly got used to computer and an hour later showed Maxim a draft of the site. Hope for Everyone. Volkov read the title. A new type of people's clinic. Below was the text, written in simple but touching language. The history of the clinic, its problems, plans for the future. And at the very end, a photo of Artem with the caption, "My name is Artyom. I lost my mother because we couldn't pay treatment. Help us create a clinic where this never happens again. Are you sure you want to post your photo?" The wolf asked worriedly. People need to see the face of the one who are they helping. Artem answered with conviction. Abstract appeals don't work. And a specific story, yes. Maxim nodded, amazed by the teenager's wisdom. Where in such a young creature so much understanding of human psychology? By evening they were joined by several clinic staff. Anna Petrovna was the first to arrive. Maxim Sergeevich, I'm all I heard. Let me help you with something. Others followed her, the young nurse Katia, anesthesiologist Igor Valentinovich. Even the usually sullen security guard Stepan looked in to ask if he needed help. Look, Katia was showing something on my phone. I posted about our project on social media, and within an hour 300 reposts. People write that they have been waiting for something like this for a long time. Igor Valentinovich, a man of about 50 with a kind face, added, and I contacted colleagues from other clinics. Many are ready to provide free consultations if the project works. Artyom sat in the center of this suddenly formed team, and his eyes lit up. Volkov looked at him and wondered how one boy could do it in a few hours. To do what I couldn't do for years, to unite people with a common idea. But the answer was obvious. Sincerity. Artem did not play, did not manipulate. He simply believed in what he said, and this belief was passed on to others. Maxim Sergeevich, Anna Petrovna called. Let's do the first online broadcast right now. We'll tell people about the project live. Volkov hesitated. He didn't like publicity, preferring to remain in the shadows. But Artyom nodded encouragingly. That's a good idea. People need to see that there are real people behind the project. In half an hour they were ready. Katia mounted the phone on a tripod. Igor Valentinovich checked lighting. Volkov nervously adjusted his tie. Don't worry, Artyom whispered to him. It's just speak from the heart. And Maxim spoke, told about the clinic, about the problem's healthcare, about the dream of creating a place where everyone can get help. Artem sat nearby and sometimes inserted his comments, told his story. My mother was a teacher, he said, looking straight into the camera. When she was diagnosed with a tumor, she first didn't believe it. She said, I've been teaching children all my life. Is it possible that this happens to me? Did this happen? But the disease does not choose good or bad. We went around all the state hospitals, everywhere there are queues a month in advance, and in private clinics he fell silent, swallowing the lump in his throat. One course of chemotherapy cost more than Mom earned in a year. Volkov put his hand on the boy's shoulder. We will create a clinic where this won't happen. Where the teacher will be able to get treatment not worse than a businessman. Where the price of life will not be measured in rubles. Comments appeared under the broadcast one after another. People shared their stories, offered help, asked questions. The viewer counter was already showing more thousands of people. Dr. Volkov, Katia read one of the questions. And what will happen to those doctors who are used to big salaries? Will they leave? Maxim thought about it. You know, I believe that a real doctor chooses this profession not for the money. Yes, decent pay is important, and we will try to provide it. But the main thing is the opportunity to help people without regard to their ability to pay. I think many colleagues will understand me. The broadcast lasted an hour. By the end of the viewers there were already more than 5,000, and the first donations began to arrive at the clinic's account. The amounts were small, 100 rubles, 500,000, But each transfer was accompanied by words of support, and that was more important. Money. When the camera was turned off, everyone was silent, stunned by what had happened. Stepan was the first to break the silence. But it might work. Maybe it really will. Anna Petrovna wiped away tears. I have been in medicine for 30 years, but I have not seen such enthusiasm since the Soviet times. Volkov looked at the laptop screen, where the new comments and donations. In an hour, they collected almost 100,000 rubles. A drop in the ocean their debts, but a start had been made. Thank you, Artyom, he said quietly. Thanks for reminding us why we are here. It was already late when the team started to disperse. Volkov called a taxi for Artyom. I'll be waiting for you here tomorrow at 9 a.m. And don't be late, we have a lot of work. The boy nodded. I'll come earlier. Can I have the key? From the computer class? I want to work on the site at night. At night you will be asleep, Maxim said sternly. This is not up for discussion. Health is more important than any project. Having seen off Artyoma, Volkov was left alone in the office. He opened the project page again. There were already more than 3,000 subscribers. People shared the link, discussed the idea in social networks. Can we really do it? He asked himself. There was no answer, but for the first time in many months, hope began to glimmer in my heart. The phone rang. The name of his ex-wife appeared on the screen. Maxim looked at the display for a long time, then nevertheless answered. Hello, Max, I saw your broadcast. Irina's voice sounded unusually soft. Is that true? Do you really want to make a clinic? Folk. Really? I know. It sounds crazy, but it's not crazy, she interrupted. It looks like the Maxim I once fell in love with. The one who wanted to treat people, not to make money on their illnesses. They didn't talk for long, but it was the first normal conversation 3 years after the divorce. Irina even offered to help with legal issues. She worked as a lawyer and could give useful advice. Having finished the conversation, Volkov felt a strange lightness, as if the load he had been carrying all these years became a little smaller. The next morning, Artem, as promised, came early everyone. Volkov found him in the hall. The boy was sitting on the couch with a laptop on his lap. What's wrong? You haven't slept all night. Maxim became alarmed. I slept, Artem waved it off. He just woke up early. Look what I found. He turned the screen. On it was an article from a major online publication about their project. Journalists are already writing about us. And look how many subscribers we have. 7,000. The day began with a planning meeting. All the heads of the medical department gathered in the office of the head physicians. Branches. Volkov spoke about the agreement with the bank, about the plan to create a people's clinics. The reaction was mixed. Maxim Sergeevich, with respect, but this is a gamble, said the head of surgery, Pyotr Andreevich, a man of pre-retirement age. We are doctors, not philanthropists. Does one exclude the other? Artem joined in. A doctor is the one who treats, not the one who chooses who treat according to the size of the wallet. Pyotr Andreevich looked at the boy with displeasure. And who are you to teach me? What does it mean to be a doctor? I'm a patient, Artem answered calmly. Or rather, they would have been if my mother had money, but she didn't, so she died. Do you want more stories like this? There was silence. Then Elena Viktorovna, the head of therapy, spoke up. The boy is right. We have long forgotten. Why did they take the Hippocratic Oath? I support the project. And I added young head of diagnostics. One after another, the doctors spoke out. Some were enthusiastic, some were skeptical, but no one spoke out openly against it. Good, summed up the wolves. I give until the evening, everyone. I will understand and not I will keep it. But whoever stays must be ready for changes. Salaries first time may decrease, the workload will increase, but we will do what is necessary why they became doctors to save lives. After the planning meeting, the work began to boil. Katia with a group of young employees took up promotion in social networks. Igor Valentinovich contacted colleagues from other cities. I looked for doctors willing to come and give master classes. Anna Petrovna organized a call center to handle calls. People called from the whole country, offered help, asked questions. Artem was torn between everyone, coordinating actions. Volkov watched with surprise as the teenager found a common language with everyone. from young nurses to elderly professors. The boy had an amazing gift. He could listen and hear people, find something good in everyone. By lunchtime, it happened first miracle. The famous businessman Sergei Nikolaevich Krylov came to the clinic. Volkov knew him. A year ago they operated on his daughter, saved the girl's life after a serious accident. Maxim Sergeevich, Krylov said, shaking the head doctor's hand. I saw your yesterday broadcast. You saved my Mashenka, and all I could think about then was that the operation was expensive. I felt ashamed. I want to help. He wrote out a check for 5 million rubles. Volkov got it. Sergei Nikolaevich, this is too much. This is fair, the businessman said firmly. My daughter is alive thanks to you. And how many children could live if their parents had such an opportunity? Consider it an investment in the future. Turned to Artyom. And you're a good boy. You're right. We, adults, we often forget about the main thing. News about a large donation instantly spread throughout the clinic. The staff's enthusiasm grew times. If people like Krylov believe in the project, then everything will work out. By the evening, the amount of donations had exceeded 7 million. The goal of the first week was almost achieved in one day. But not everything went well smoothly. After lunch, Pyotr Andreevich came to Volkov. Maxim Sergeevich, I thought about it. I'm 60 years old, 2 years until retirement. I don't want any adventures. I'm quitting. Volkov nodded. I understand, Pyotr Andreevich, thank you for your honesty. Letter of recommendation, I will write the best letter. 2 more people left after him, an anesthesiologist and radiologist. It was painful, but expected. Don't be upset, Artem said when they were alone. It's better if they leave. Now those who don't believe, then later will sabotage. Volkov grinned. Where are you from? Wise. The boy shrugged. His mother taught him. She said that in any business the main thing is not the number of people, and their devotion to the idea. In the evening, the second online broadcast. This time, doctors from other cities joined them via video link, discussed specific mechanisms of the People's Clinic and answered questions. There were already more than 20,000 viewers. In the comments, people shared their stories. Some lost loved ones due to the high cost of treatment. Some got into debts, paying for operations. And you know, said one of the viewers via video link, an elderly woman. I remember Soviet medicine. Yes, there were queues, there weren't enough medicines, but the doctor came to everyone's home sick. It doesn't matter if you're a director or a janitor. Do you want to bring back that humanity? I support you. I will transfer my pension. Volkov felt his eyes sting. A pensioner who is ready to give her last for the sake of a common idea. How can they have we reached the point where medicine has become a luxury? Thank you, he said in camera. But keep your pension. Better tell your neighbors and friends about us. We need not only financial but also moral support. After the broadcast, Artem showed statistics. Look, we already have 15,000 subscribers. And the amount of donations is approaching 8 million. Volkov shook his head. Incredible. In one day, we did more than I did in a year of negotiations with investors. Because you were looking for investors and found like-minded people, the boy smiled. That's a big difference. It was already past midnight when they finished work. Volkov called a taxi for Artem again, but he hesitated. Maxim Sergeevich, can I question? You said about tutors. Is that true? Of course it is. Tomorrow let's start looking for what items need to be tightened. Everything, Artem admitted embarrassed. I hardly stuttered last year. First my mother was sick, then he went silent. It's okay, Volkov encouraged him. You'll catch up, you're a smart guy, you'll cope. Artem suddenly hugged him. Thank you for everything. Maxim awkwardly stroked the boy's head. A strange feeling, as if he suddenly had a son. The son that she and Sira never had a child, being too caught up in their careers. The following days flew by at a crazy pace. Every morning began with a planning meeting, where they discussed current tasks. Then work in directions. Someone dealt with legal issues, re-registration of the clinic, someone searching for volunteer doctors, someone organizing the first free receptions. Artem was everywhere. In the morning he helped with the site. In the afternoon he met journalists, broadcasted in the evening. Volkov hired tutors for him, and the boy managed to study in between all his chores. When do you sleep? Asked a worried Maxim. I'm sleeping, Artem waved it off. It is more important not to miss the moment. On the fourth day, a breakthrough occurred. Viktor Pavlovich from the bank called. Maxim Sergeevich, I am impressed. In 3 days you have collected 10,020,000 subscribers. This is more than we expected. So you will extend the deferment? He asked hopefully. Volkov. Moreover, the bank's board has decided to support your project. We will write off 20 of the debt and we will restructure the rest for 5 years at a minimum interest rate. Volkov couldn't believe his ears. But why? What changed? Public opinion. The banker answered honestly. Your project has become too well known. If we now will take the clinic, we'll be branded as stranglers of folk medicine, but otherwise we will gain a reputation as a socially responsible bank. Everyone wins. When Volkov told the news team, there was no limit to the joy. Anna Petrovna burst into tears. Katia began jump. Even the reserved Igor Valentinovich allowed himself a smile. Artem sat quietly, but his eyes were shining. We did it, he whispered. We did it. This is just the beginning, Volkov warned. Now we need to prove that the model works. But the main thing is that we have time. He looked on the calendar. Only 4 days had passed since Artem entered his office. 4 days that changed everything. In the evening they were broadcasting again, talking about achieved results, thanked everyone who helped. The live broadcast went even Krylov. Friends, what is happening is a miracle. A miracle that we all create together. I am doubling my donation and urging other entrepreneurs to follow suit. My example. Let's prove that there is a place for humanity in Russia. By the end of the week, the amount of donations exceeded 25 million rubles. Quantity subscribers approached 50,000. Letters came from all over the country support, offers of cooperation. Several well-known doctors expressed desire to join the project. But the most important change happened inside clinics. Employees who had previously simply worked their shifts were now burning idea. Nurses stayed after work to help with the organization. Doctors proposed new ideas, argued, and looked for optimal solutions. The clinic has transformed from a dying business into a living organism. You know, Artyom, Volkov said at the end weeks when they sat in the empty office. I thought I was saving the clinic, but it turned out that the clinic saved me. It gave me back the meaning of what I do. The boy smiled. Mom used to say, when you help others, you help yourself. I understood then. Now I understand. The next day, exactly a week after fateful meeting, the clinic held its first open day. Anyone who wanted to could come for a free consultation. In the morning, a line of people lined up at the entrance queue. Pensioners, young mothers with children, unemployed. Those who have been putting off a visit to the doctor for years because of the prices. Volkov personally met patients in the lobby. Artem stood nearby in new clothes. Anna Petrovna insisted that the face of the project should look presentable, but the boy still remained himself, simple, open, sincere. Come on in, don't be shy, he told the elderly. They'll help you here. One of the first patients was a teacher from the school where Artem's mother worked. When she saw the boy, she gasped, Artyomka. Did you organize all this? Oh, how proud your mother would be. Artyom blushed, but smiled. She would say that it was too early to be proud. First need to finish the job. It was a crazy day. Doctors were seeing patients non-stop. The registry was working in an emergency mode. But no one complained. Everyone understood the importance of the moment. By evening, more than 300 people were admitted. Many were prescribed additional examinations. Some were sent for elective surgeries. How are we going to pay for this? He asked. Worried head of buck. From the people's money, Volkov answered. For this, people and donated. Complete transparency. Every penny spent will be reflected in the reports. And indeed, in the evening a detailed report on the first day of work in the new format. People saw what they were going to money, and this inspired even more confidence. A month later, the Nadezhda Clinic became known throughout the country. Federal media wrote about it, filmed it TV shows. The model of crowdfunding has even interested officials from Ministry of Health, but most importantly, it worked. Yes, there were problems and difficulties, but the forward movement did not stop. Artem actually settled in the clinic. Volkov gave him a small room recreation area where the boy could do his homework and relax between tasks. Tutors noted his abilities. Artem caught up on the missed material with amazing speed. "You have a future, Doctor, growing up," said the biology teacher or manager. Or maybe both. Relationships between Volkov and Artem were getting warmer and warmer. Maxim didn't notice how he started to perceive the boy almost as a son. They dined together in the hospital cafeteria, discussed plans, argued about future clinic. Sometimes Volkov caught himself thinking that for the first time in many years, don't feel lonely. Unexpectedly for everyone, Pyotr Andreevich returned. Came in the morning, knocked on the head doctor's office. "Maxim Sergeevich, can I come in?" "I'm here," thought. Old fool. I've dreamed of such medicine all my life, and when a chance appeared, got scared. Take it back. Volkov smiled. "With joy, Pyotr Andreevich. We need experienced surgeons." Old doctor coughed sheepishly. "And this boy of yours? Artyom, tell him he was right. We really forgot why they became doctors." By the end of the second month, the project reached break-even point. 30 of services were provided free of charge or at a cost-discounted prices, but by optimizing expenses and a constant flow of donations, it was possible to make ends meet ends. Moreover, franchise offers began to arrive. Doctors from other cities wanted to create people's clinics based on Nadezhda's model. "We are creating a movement," Artem said with delight on one of the broadcasts. "We are not just saving one clinic, but we change the system. We show that it can be done differently." His words resonated. There were thousands of supportive comments under the video. But not everyone liked the changes. Competitors began spreading rumors that the People's Clinic was a scam. Way to get out of debt. Custom articles have appeared on social networks, discrediting project. Artem got it especially bad. They wrote that the boy was lying about his death mother, that he is being used for PR. "Don't pay attention," he reassured upset teenage Wolf. "This is a sign that we are on the right track. If they are trying to blacken us, it means they are afraid." But Artem was worried not for himself, but for the cause to which he devoted all his strength. What if people believe? What if stop helping? The answer came unexpectedly. The clinics group organized a flash mob in support for the project. People posted their stories of how they were helped in the hope that doctors saved life or health. Extegrishetka hope for everyone for the day hit the top of social networks. Negative comments were drowned in a sea of sincere gratitude. One evening, when Volkov and Artyom were having dinner in the dining room, a young woman with a girl of about 5 years old approached them. "Excuse me," she began, embarrassed. "Are you Dr. Volkov?" "And Artyom. I wanted to thank you. My Lenokka got the operation for free. I have no words. We have already lost hope." The girl handed Artyom drawing. It depicted a doctor in a white coat and a boy. And above them rainbow. "It's you," she explained. "You're good." Artyom carefully took the drawing, and Volkov saw the boy's lips tremble. "Thank you," the teenager whispered. "Mom would be glad that we could help." The woman hugged him impulsively. "Yours Mom would be proud of you. You are doing a great job." After they left, they long were silent. Then Volkov said, "You know, it's worth living for moments like these, when you see that your work really changes people's lives." Artem nodded, still looking at the drawing. Mom said, "Happiness is when what you do matches what people need." It seems we have found this happiness. 3 years have passed months, the term given by the bank. During this time, the Nadezhda Clinic has transformed from unprofitable enterprise into a federal-scale social project. The debts were restructured, operational activity turned positive. The number of regular donors exceeded 100,000 people. The entire Volkov team gathered to celebrate this date raised a glass of champagne. Artem was poured juice. "Friends, 3 months ago I was ready to give up. The clinic was dying and I saw no way out. But a boy appeared who reminded me of the main thing. Medicine is not a business, it is a calling. Thank you, Artem. Thank you all. We have proven that miracles are possible." Everyone applauded. Artem blushed, but smiled. Anna Petrovna wiped away her tears. Even the stern Stepan allowed himself to smile. It was a moment of triumph for a small team that believed in a big idea. After holidays, Volkov took Artem aside. "Listen, I was thinking. You practically live in the clinic. Maybe we should formalize guardianship so that everything is official." "Was? Sure, if you don't mind." Artyom froze, looking at him with wide eyes. "Eyes? Are you serious? Absolutely. You became like a son to me, and I want you to have a real home. Instead of answering, the boy rushed to hug Volkov. They stood like that in the middle of the hospital corridor. An adult man and a teenager who became family to each other. Nurses, those passing by smiled. Everyone in the clinic knew the story of their friendship. The guardianship process took several weeks. Artem's aunt was only glad. She was barely making ends meet and could not give her nephew what he that could give wolves. The boy's father had long since disappeared from his life, so there were no obstacles. When the documents were ready, Maxim took Artyom to the apartment, which was now becoming their common home. Choose room, he said, showing a spacious 3-room apartment. We'll arrange it the way you want. Artyom chose a room with a view of the park, the very one that the wolves prepared raw for the child that was never born. Now she will find an owner. Life gradually entered a new direction. In the morning they had breakfast together, then went to the clinic. Artem continued to study. The tutors were pleased with his progress. In the evenings they dined at home and discussed the past day, making plans. It was a strange family, a middle-aged doctor and teenager, but they understood each other better than many blood relatives. Meanwhile, the clinic developed. A palliative care department opened. The program of mobile teams for bedridden patients began to work. The number of volunteer doctors grew. They came specialists from Moscow, St. Petersburg, even from abroad. Nadezhda became a symbol that changes are possible. One evening Irina called. Max, can you meet? There is an important conversation. They agreed to meet at the cafe where they used to often had been during his student days. Volkov was worried about what his ex-wife might need after so many months. You've changed, Irina said as soon as he sat down at the table. For the better. Sighed. That Maxim, whom I fell in love with 20 years ago, has returned. Volkov smiled sheepishly. It's all Artem. He reminded me who I really am. I've been following your project, Irina continued, and I'm proud of you. We were able to create a family, but you created something more, gave hope to thousands of people. We talked for a long time, without reproaches or insults. Irina told me that she met person, is getting married. Volkov was sincerely happy for her. And you? She asked. She. Not alone. Maxim shook his head. I have Artem and the clinic. This is my family. Now. They parted as friends. Rare cases when former spouses were able to maintain warm relations. At home, Artem met him with the question, how did the meeting take place? Volkov was surprised. How do you know? Anna Petrovna saw, as you left. She is our main informant, the boy smiled. Maxim laughed. It went well. We said goodbye to the past. Now everyone has your own path. And you don't regret it? Artem asked seriously. No, there is you and our business. This is more important than old grievances. 6 months after the launch, an event occurred during the project that changed the scale of the entire undertaking. A delegation from the Ministry of Health came to the clinic. We studied your model, he said. The deputy minister is a grey-haired man with intelligent eyes, and we want to offer a pilot project. 10 clinics across the country will be transferred to public funding with government support. Are you ready to become a methodological center? Volkov and Artem exchanged glances. This was a chance to change more than one clinic. We are ready for the whole system, Maxim said firmly. But there are conditions, no bureaucracy. People should see where their taxes go and donations. The deputy minister nodded. I agree. Transparency is the key to trust. Let's start with pilot. Let's see the results. Preparing for scaling the project became a new challenge. Artem plunged headlong into developing methodological materials. Volkov traveled around the regions, met with chief doctors, and persuaded them to try a new model. Not everyone was ready for change, but gradually like-minded people were found. The first follower clinic opened in Novosibirsk. Volkov and Artem flew to the opening. Are you nervous? Maxim asked on the plane. A little, the teenager admitted. What if they won't succeed? What if our experience doesn't work in another city? It will work, Volkov said confidently. Because there are people everywhere who are ready to help others. You just have to give them a chance. The opening was a success. Local residents, the idea of a people's clinic was met with enthusiasm. On the first day of work, 2 million rubles were collected. Donations. The head doctor of the Novosibirsk clinic, an energetic woman of about 40, thanked Volkov and Artem. You brought meaning back to our work. Thank you for shared experiences. The return flight was in high spirits. We really did start an avalanche, Artem said with delight. Can you imagine, if in a year there will be 100 such clinics, 1,000? Volkov smiled, looking at an inspired teenager. Over these months, Artem has grown and matured. From a skinny, ragged man he turned into a confident young man, but the main thing is that he remained as sincere and devoted to the idea. By the end of the year, the Project Hope for All has become one of the country's main social initiatives. About him they spoke at the government level and were studied by international experts. Volkov was invited to speak at the WHO conference and talk about Russia's experience with traditional medicine. Artem went with no longer as a boy mascot, but as a full-fledged co-author of the project. The speech was a huge success. Delegates from different countries fell asleep questions, asked to share documentation. You have created a unique model, he said. WHO representative. A combination of crowdfunding, government support and public oversight. This could work in many developing countries. After the conference, they walked around Geneva. You know, Artem said, looking at the lake. Mom dreamed of visiting Europe. She said that when she recovers, we will definitely go. We didn't have time. Volkov put his hand on his shoulder. She would be proud of you. You made it so that other mothers will be able to fulfill their dreams. Artem nodded, wiping away a tear. Yes, I guess that's the point. To turn your pain into helping others. When they returned home, they found a surprise waiting for them. The clinic staff organized a celebration in honor of the project's anniversary. The assembly hall was decorated. Everyone from nurses to professors gathered. There was a huge poster on the stage. 365 Days Hopes. Dear friends, Volkov began, going up on stage. A year ago we were on the verge of collapse. The clinic was dying, and I had lost faith in my profession. But a boy appeared and said, I know how to save your clinic. I didn't believe him then. I thought, what could a child know about business, finance, management? It turned out that he knew the main thing, that medicine is about people, not about money. Hall burst into applause. Artem, who was sitting in the front row, blushed. Anna Petrovna nudged him. Go on stage, hero. The teenager reluctantly rose, and the wolves embraced him. This is our common victory for everyone who believed an idea. But it all started with one boy's faith. Thank you, son. Last the word just came out. They had never discussed what Artyom should call Maxima. But now on stage in front of hundreds of people it sounded naturally. Artem pressed himself against him. Thank you, Dad, for believing. After the official part, the concert began. Local creative groups performed, children of employees. There was also a presentation of achievements. Over the year, more than 15,000 received free assistance. People. 300 complex operations were performed. 5 new departments were opened. The numbers were impressive, but behind each stood a human destiny. And do you remember how everything has it started? Katia told a group of young nurses. We thought that in a week we would be looking for a new job, and now we have a queue of people wanting to get a job. This is because there is a point here, added Igor Valentinovich. Not just to work shifts, but to really help people. By the end of the evening, Volkov and Artem were left in the empty hall. Tired? Asked Maxim. A little. The teenager admitted. But it's a pleasant tiredness, when you know the day has not been wasted. They sat in silence, each thinking about their own. A year ago they were strangers, now they are a family, connected not by blood, but something more. Dad, Artem suddenly said, what next? We are not let stop there. Volkov smiled. Of course not. There is a lot of work ahead. We need to perfect the model, train colleagues in other cities. Maybe write a book about our experience. And you should finish school, to go to medical school. Do you have to go to medical school? Slyly asked Artem. Don't you want to become a doctor? Maxim was surprised. I do, but not only. I want to become a doctor manager to treat not only people, but also the healthcare system so that there are many clinics like ours, so that no one else loses close ones because of money. Volkov looked at him with pride. You will become a great reformer, I'm sure. A few more months have passed. Artem successfully passed the 9th grade exams as an external student. He was preparing for the 10th. Volkov officially adopted him. Now the documents listed him as Artem Maximovich Volkov. The boy insisted on keeping his patronymic in memory of his father. And Maxim understood him. The clinic was thriving. The crowdfunding model had proven its effectiveness. Already 20 medical institutions across the country were working according to Nadezhda's scheme. A bill was being prepared about state support for such initiatives. What began as an attempt to save one unprofitable hospital turned into a federal-scale movement. One day in the morning, while preparing breakfast, Volkov heard Artyom talking in his room. Listening closely, I realized the boy was talking to his mother's photograph. "Mom, I'm fine. Dad, yes, I have a dad now, he takes care of me. We continue our work. Thousands of people have already received help. I study well. Soon I'll go to high school and then to medical school, like you wanted. I'll become doctor. Mom, I promise." Maxim quietly moved away from the door so as not to embarrass his son. In the throat there was a lump. He remembered that day more than a year ago when he was ready to give in, to admit defeat. And the ragged boy who entered the office with the words, "I know how to save your clinic." Over breakfast they discussed their plans for the day. A meeting with investors interested in the project, then a conference with the chief physicians of partner clinics. In the evening, another online broadcast. Life was in full swing, filled with meaning and the joy of creation. "Dad, I'm thinking," Artyom said, spreading butter on his bread. "Maybe organizing a summer camp for children from low-income families? With medical bias. We will talk about health, prevention. Maybe someone will want to become a doctor." Volkov smiled. "Great idea. Let's discuss it. With the team. You're our idea generator." After breakfast they went to the clinic. As usual, patients were already gathering at the entrance. Many recognized them, greeted them, thanked. One old lady handed Artyom a bag of pies. "This is for you and Dad. Thank you for everything, dear ones." The team confusedly accepted the gift. Such moments happened constantly. People brought them homemade baked goods, knitted items. Just warm ones. Words. A stack of letters was waiting for them in the office. People from all over the country were writing, asking advice, offered help, shared stories. Artyom diligently answered every letter. "It's important," he said. "People need to know they're being heard." Volkov helped him, amazed at the wisdom of the teenager. The day flew by in the usual fuss. The meeting with investors was successful. A large IT company offered to create a mobile application for the clinic's patients. A meeting with the chief physicians revealed new growth points. The broadcast attracted a record audience of 50,000 viewers. In the evening, returning home, they stopped at a small monument in the park next to the clinic. A year ago, staff and patients raised money and installed a modest stele with an inscription in memory of all those who did not wait for help. "We are working to make this happen." Did not happen again. Artyom always stopped here to mentally talk to his mother. "You know," he said, looking at the monument, "I thought I came to save the clinic for my mother, to take revenge on the system that killed her. But now I understand, it's not about both. The point is in love, in the desire that others not experience the pain that I experienced." Volkov hugged him. "You've grown up, son, and I'm more proud of you than I can say in words." A surprise awaited them at home. A girl of about 14 with a big backpack. Seeing them, she jumped up. "You, Dr. Volkov." "And Artyom." "I'm Lisa, came from Omsk. I want to help your project. I have ideas." Volkov and Artyom looked at each other. History was repeating itself, but now they were ready. "Come in, Lisa," said Maxim, opening the door. "You'll tell me your ideas over dinner." The girl beamed and rushed into apartment. Artyom smiled. "It seems that our movement is growing a new generation." "And that's wonderful," Volkov answered. "That means the business will live on." At dinner, Lisa talked about her plans to create a volunteer movement of teenagers at public clinics. She spoke passionately, incoherently, but with the same sincerity that Artyom once had. Volkov listened and thought how amazingly life works. A year ago he was alone, a disappointed man. Now he has a son, the work of his life, and, it seems, a growing family of like-minded people. "Lisa will be staying with us for a few days," he decided in the guest room. "We'll introduce her to the team tomorrow. We'll see what can be done with her ideas." The girl almost cried with joy. Artem smiled at her encouragingly. Don't worry. The main thing is sincerity. If it comes from the heart, people will support it. Volkov couldn't sleep for a long time that night. He thought about the path taken, about the people who believed in a crazy idea, about the boy who became a son, about a clinic that became a people's clinic, about how one meeting can change his whole life. In the morning he was woken by laughter from the kitchen. Artem and Lisa were cooking breakfast, animatedly discussing plans for the volunteer movement. Good morning, Dad, Artem shouted. We are making pancakes here. Lisa, it turns out, is doing great. Cooks. Volkov smiled as he entered the kitchen. An ordinary morning for an extraordinary family. After breakfast, the three of us went to the clinic. Anna Petrovna met them at the entrance. Maxim Sergeevich. We have guests. A delegation from the Ministry of Health. They want to discuss the expansion programs. The day promised to be eventful, but now Volkov was encountering difficulties with Smile. There were people nearby who believed in the common cause. 5 years have passed. The Clinic Nadezhda became the flagship of the new healthcare system. There were already 300 people's hospitals operating across the country. Clinics. Artem graduated from medical school, while simultaneously receiving a second management education. Lisa headed the federal volunteer movement. Volkov consulted the regions and helped launch new projects. One autumn, on a day very similar to the one when it all began, Volkov was sitting in his office. There was a letter on the table, an invitation to speak at the UN with a report on the Russian model of traditional medicine. There's a photograph nearby. He, Artem and Lisa against the backdrop of the clinic. There was a knock on the door. Come in, said Volkov. A young man in a white coat entered. Artyom had grown up, he matured, but his eyes remained the same, kind and determined. Dad, we have a new patient. A boy from an orphanage. He has a serious illness, but we will help. Right. Volkov stood up and went to his son. Of course, we will help. For that's why we are here. They went to the ward together. On the way, Artem told about Case. Volkov gave advice. The usual routine of an unusual clinic, the very one which was once saved by a ragged boy with simple words, I know how to save your clinic. In the ward, on the bed sat a thin boy of about 10 years old. When he saw the doctors, he cowered, but Artyom sat down next to him. Hi, I'm Dr. Artem, and this is my dad, the head doctor. We'll help you, don't be afraid. The boy looked at him hopefully. Will you really help? But I have no money. Money is not the main thing, Artem smiled. The main thing is the desire to get well. You have it, is there? The boy nodded. Volkov looked at his son with pride. Krug closed himself off. Once a desperate boy came to save the clinic. Now grown-up Artem saved other children. And so the endless chain of goodness will continue, launched by one sincere act. Leaving the ward, they stopped at windows. The city was noisy behind the glass. People were hurrying. Somewhere there were other clinics, other doctors, other patients. But here, within the walls of Nadezhda, reigned special atmosphere. The atmosphere is a place where miracles happen every day. Remember how everything was at starting? Volkov asked. Of course, Artyom answered. I was afraid that you would kick me out. And you listened. The best decision of my life, Maxim confessed. You saved me, only the clinic. You saved me. They hugged, standing at the window. Father and son, connected not by blood, but by something stronger, a common belief that the world can be made better. And in a loss-making hospital that became a hope for thousands, life went on. Doctors treated, patients recovered, volunteers were helping. And somewhere up there, Artem's mother was smiling, looking at the work of his son, the boy who once said, I know how to save your clinic. And he saved not only the clinic, but also the souls of the people who believed in a miracle.